Kate Lewis, she's from the DC Bar.
Hi.
And she's the one that was kind of making this all possible here.
Great.
Yeah.
Hi, excuse me for not getting up.
Pleasure to meet you. I'm so sorry that I'm late. Be a member of the DC Bar to practice in DC.
Yeah.
But the bar is a regulatory body as well.
Got it. I can see that, so.
Well, as Inspector General and as the first president of DC Bar, yeah, I enjoyed it tremendously. I was very, very surprised when I won the first presidency of the DC Bar. We had, you had to belong, as you know. If you are not a member, you better be.
Kate, by the way, works for the DC Bar.
Good for you. We had no members. We had no members one day. Next day, there's some confusion as to how many we had. Some say 11,000, some say 15,000. But in any event, it was a large. And today, what do we have?
Over 90,000.
Over 90. Yeah, it's going to reach 100,000.
Second largest unified bar in the country.
There you
All
go.
living in Washington?
No.
Yeah, it's just an astounding thing. My first year as president, you just can't imagine what just to give you an example of the confusion, I just assumed that we would do good as a bar. So I looked around and I found a case that was pending where some people had filed amicus briefs exerting a point of view about which way the law should go. And having found that, I wrote a brief myself.
As president.
As president. I got my board to approve it, and we filed it. Well, you can't do that in a mandatory bar because you'd have to get the views of 90,000 people before you could do it. And I don't know whatever happened to that brief. Whether we got it back or whether the court just dumped it, or do you know?
I don't, but I could find out.
Yeah, I think it would be interesting to know whatever happened to it. It certainly didn't have any effect in the case, I'm sure. But that's how little we knew. And I went around the country visiting mandatory bars and picking up knowledge about what we could and couldn't do, and was astounded to find that we could not do a number of things that I thought we could.
So little lobbying you can do.
Yeah.
There's some loopholes now. So some of the programs can file. So for example, one of the programs that I manage, we filed several amicus briefs in the years that I've worked
Really?
at the bar. But because we don't lobby on behalf of the bar itself or our members, we only lobby on behalf of the specific program. So we have to be very careful about how we submit that to the court.
Right, right. Well, that's great. I'm glad you've broken through that barrier.
A little bit.
Kate, you have the last question. From the DC Bar perspective, or any perspective, you listen to this now and you say, I wish Greg would ask this thing.
What was the question?
Well, I just think, so you clerked for 3 different Supreme Court justices, and I wonder sometimes how the clerks feel, especially you were the sole clerk to Jackson, which is a really unique situation. Was there a case where you felt strongly that
that it was wrong?
Yeah, like you wish that it had gone a different way.
I can tell you one that I was not in on, but that afterwards I gave him unshirted hell about. And that was the one of the failed execution, where they tried to execute Willie.
Yeah.
And he got all kinds of electricity in the body,
Right.
but not enough to kill him. And then came back 1 year later, and cruel and unusual punishment had been raised, and he who opposed capital punishment voted to make it 5-4 to go back and do it again. And I thought that was a bad mistake. I really I gave him hell on that, and he didn't have any explanation for it, so. Give me that wine back.
Somebody less than 50 started getting in the game.